Welcome back to the Chester Centurion podcast, the show where we dive into the journeys, lessons and insights of business leaders across Chester and beyond. I'm your host, Alan Bard, and today I'm joined by Ian Wade, a hospitality veteran who's been running some of Chester's most loved venues for over 3 decades. Ian is the owner of the Ring of Bells in Christleton, a community pub and restaurant that's been thriving since 2008, and Urbano 32, a city centre pizzeria and bar that's becoming a staple in Chester's dining scene. His wife also runs Koo Coffee, meaning hospitality really is a family affair. In this episode, Ian shares his story of moving from running bars and clubs in the 90s to creating a thriving portfolio of restaurants and pubs, how he's navigated challenges like COVID, rising costs and tight margins, and why building and keeping a great team has been the cornerstone of his success. We also talk about the misconceptions of running hospitality businesses, the importance of balancing lifestyle with long hours, and Ian's vision for the future, including new revenue streams, and even lifting the lid on what really goes on behind the scenes of running a pub. This is a brilliant conversation for anyone in business, full of honesty, resilience, and some powerful lessons on people, service, and survival in one of the toughest industries out there. Let's dive in. So Ian, welcome to the Chester Centurion podcast.
Very pleased to be invited and looking forward to answering some of your questions.
You're very welcome, Ian. No problem at all. Listen, before we get started today, though, I'd always love to know more about your business. So could you tell us what you do and what's so special about it?
Yeah, my name's Ian Wade and I've got a couple of restaurants in Chester, been in the restaurant business, well, the hospitality business since, 1991. Quite a long time. Currently have the Ring of Bells in Christleton, which is I don't like the term gastro pub, but we're a pub that does food in the village of Christleton that most people will know from Chester, just outside. We've been here since 2008, so we're coming into our 17th, 18th summer. It's great. It's still ticking along nicely. Obviously, with our ups and downs, including obviously the COVID years, and at the moment, it's particularly difficult for all hospitality and probably most businesses at the moment. And I also have a pizza restaurant in the centre of Chester called Urbano 32, which is coming up to its 11th year as well. So we opened that in 2014, the autumn of 2014. Again, slightly different business concept to here. It's a bit more dry led. It's probably 85-15 dry to wet, whereas the pub's more 60-40, 65-35. But, you know, the same principles of running a hospitality business. Mm-hmm. It's obviously different in the city centre. Your patterns of business are different, and obviously things like the races and whatnot affects us, whereas the pub's more traditional pub style. I mean, we're doing it a little bit different, but, you know, you're obviously Sunday lunch is the height of the week. So they're both quite different, but complement each other quite well at the same time. And then my wife, who is also in hospitality, has got a coffee shop across the road called Koo Coffee. That's coming up to its 4th year as well. So
wow,
time really does fly. But yeah, hospitality family all around.
Quite a diverse range of establishments there, haven't you? You've got the pizza, I'm not going to use the word gastropub, the pub that does food.
Yeah.
And a coffee shop. So really diverse skill set there, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when I first started, we've always done things that we would like to be involved with. So when I was younger, we put on parties and club nights back in the late 80s, early 90s. And then as we calmed down a bit, we went more into bars. And then I suppose as I've got older, the job or the industry we've worked in has probably gone with our demographic as well. So, you know, bars to pubs to restaurants to the coffee shops. So we're not in the middle of a dance floor anymore screaming. We're drinking lattes in a village. So, yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But, you know, you're never too old for a boogie, right?
No. Well, I don't think Crane would agree with you, but yeah.
No, I'm only joking. So,
yeah.
Listen, I'd love to know, we're 18 years into the Ring of Bells. What motivated you to start your own business? If we can go back to the start. And what was...
Sorry, interrupt. Back to when I was a student, I had a part-time job in a pub restaurant just up the road from where I lived in North Yorkshire. And the chap who owned that, a Lebanese guy, and a Guyanan restaurant manager, really inspired me. They were both fully committed to the business, and they grew the business from nothing. And I was just watching as, like a waiter, and they really inspired me and gave me my love for hospitality. When I finished my university, I did a 2-year HND and didn't want to go on to the degree course. So back in 91, my good friend at the time and I decided to get into our own business. And at the time we were putting on parties. So then we opened a record shop on Brook Street in Chester. And subsequently that went into pubs and bars and whatnot, as I mentioned before. And I'd lived in other parts of the city, but I'd always seen Christleton as a great village, great location. Mm. Used to come to the high school on a Monday night to play football, and we'd come into the pub afterwards and thought that's such a great pub, but it's not being done as it should be, so to speak. It was a Bass Emmon at the time, so they didn't really show it much love. They just, put a manager in and left it to it. So the opportunity came up in early 08 when a company called Trustins, who are our landlords, they own the building. They bought quite a lot of M&B pubs, including this one. And I knew the area manager, and they were looking for a leaseholder. And we just got talking. I said, well, we'd love to do it, but it needs quite a lot of money spending on it. And to be fair, they've been great landlords. They committed to spend X amount on a refurb. Well, it was $350 back then in 2008. If we signed a long lease, blah blah blah, and that's how it all started. And then the business kicked off really well. We were probably oversubscribed, for want of a better word. So in 2012-13, again did a joint venture with the landlords to put an extension on. So we put the extension on, which we call the glass house, because it's made out of glass. Bizarrely, when we were looking to add an extension, to get the planning permission, we thought we'd have to do something like in keeping with the rest of the building or with the conservation area. But at the time, the planners wanted something completely different. So we ended up putting a glass box on the side, which has worked out really well for us because it's got retracting doors and it's great in the summer, but we can also make it cozy in the winter. And it's perfect for functions, because that's where we were doing a christening, and then we'd lose half the pub. So to give us an extra part of the pub, we've now got 3 sections. So and just gone from strength to strength. As I said before, every year's got its challenges. The COVID years at the start were particularly difficult before we knew, before furlough, before we knew what was going to happen. And then the government at the time giving out mixed messages about don't go out, but the pubs are open. And subsequently, we were well looked after in hospitality, with the furlough, Eat Out to Help Out, which was an interesting time.
Yeah, I remember that. Out to Help Out, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. And we were really, really busy, but I don't think it helped subdue the COVID cases. So once we got settled, the COVID years were reasonably busy. Since then, it's been difficult. Apart the previous 6 months coming into the next 6 months straight a year is going to be very difficult with the minimum wage has gone up, the NIC has gone up.
For sure.
The rates, which we were subsidised massively, has gone back up by X amount of percent. So, yeah, coming into a difficult period. But hopefully, I think with the team we've got and with our reputation, hopefully we should stay firm.
And, what would you say are the common misconceptions about running a business? And I'd say in particular, in this industry, and how do you go about addressing them? Because I know from my experience that there's definitely some pretty clear misconceptions about how
definitely
it is to run any kind of catering operation.
Yeah, I think people who haven't done it or are looking to do it, I'd say they think it's easy, and the owner just comes in, swans around, drinks a beer or a coffee and runs off with a load of money. That's the complete opposite. It's I suppose any business that you run yourself, the hospitality for me, you've got to be fully committed, and it's a lifestyle job. Luckily, I've got an understanding wife and family, and we live in the village as well. This business is always so easy to pop into and have a look. Or I tend to base myself from here, but even if I wasn't here, I come in 7 days a week. It's a proper lifestyle job. You put in, especially at the start, you put in long hours, and it's tired limbs, and it gets physical and mental. So I said the most common misconception is that it's easy, and that
it's pretty complicated hospitality as well. There's a lot of elements to it, isn't there? I mean, you
mentioned
mentioned wet and dry there for anyone who is not aware of that. I mean, wet is the beverage sales and dry is the food.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
But there's a lot of complex things that you have to monitor and KPIs that you have to monitor on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, massive. You know, we know. I mean, the three big ones for us, obviously, the big areas, obviously, staff, customers, suppliers, and then within them, you've got, as you say, you've got all the various different areas of KPIs: gross profit, turnover, labour percentage. It's probably never ending. I'd say they're probably the big three. You know, you've got to get your money in, but you've got to make it at the right margin.
Yeah.
And then you can't spend it all on staffing, which is obviously our biggest expense. So the staffing's got to be right. But it's such a fine line sometimes with staffing. You know, that I'm sure my managers will say, I'm always banging on about, can you send someone home, or can you? Because 15 minutes makes such a big difference. You wouldn't think so, but at the minute, you know, 15 minutes to 12.50 plus the cost of company plus everything else, it all adds up. So it really makes a big difference. And with both ends being eroded as well, you know, because the top end of the gross margins are being eroded because the suppliers are putting their prices up, and
Of course.
to a point, there's only so much you can pass it on, because they say, "Oh, pass it on," but you know they're not customer facing, are they? So it's yeah.
So yeah, margins are tight, and you've got to really really look after the pennies. You know, I remember wastage being a big.
Yes, yeah.
Is it ullages and wet?
Yeah. I mean, it's all, we're trying to improve our yield at the minute, so you know, trying to look into if any sort of wastage, as you mentioned there's got to be a reasonable explanation for it, or why, you know, why that's happened, and really hammer down on that, because you get to a point where you can only put a pint of beer or pour a fish and chips up to X amount, regardless of, you know, what the suppliers have put it up to. So then it's managing everything else, like you say.
So I think the takeaway there is hospitality is not for the light-hearted.
No. I think back in the day, you think like in the 70s, it'd be a retired footballer who'd take on a pub, wouldn't he? And he'd stand at the end of the bar telling old war stories about, you know, match of the 70s. But it's completely changed during the 80s, I think. And then, yeah, it's a lot different now.
You mentioned lifestyle job there as well. So the next question I want to ask you is really about work-life balance. And I'm waiting for this answer, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
How do you maintain a work-life balance? And you know, have you got any rituals or habits that keep you focused?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I think I'm sure you'll know as well. Anybody that works with themselves, they've always got, you know, your mind on it, regardless of the time of day. You know, it's difficult. My wife's just as bad. She'll wake up in the middle of the night and make a note about something, you know, write it down on a bit of paper. I'll send myself an email. To be fair, we've got an excellent team everywhere. So we've got a really good support staff. So, you know, I was off for a couple of days this week for my birthday, for example, and I don't have to worry. I know everything's all right. You still do, don't you? But you know that everything's going to be all right. But I suppose I've got older as well. I suppose you got to take a little bit of time out. So as I mentioned before we started, we've got a couple of dogs, so it's always nice to walk the dogs, get from fresh air, try to get to the gym or do some exercise to keep the body fit as well. And I'm trying to be quite rigid with my daily routine. So I'll do the harder task, deep work, inverted commas, in the morning, and then do the easier tasks, more creativity in the afternoon. So I tend to work much better in the morning because I get up early-ish. But then come 3-4 o'clock, I've hit a bit of a plateau, so I might have a little rest and then finish off the day later on.
That's interesting. So the harder tasks you do in the morning, the creative tasks you do in the afternoon, and I think, you know, understanding your energy, and everybody's energy is different. You know, that this I'm not a great believer in the miracle morning. You know, get up early and do this, do that. It works for me, but it doesn't work for everybody. Some people.
No, of course.
And some people work better at night. But you've understood your energy here, and harder tasks in the morning, creative tasks in the afternoon.
I think it just takes time, doesn't it? Like, you know, I'm 55 on last Tuesday, so I think it takes time to know. You know, I've always tended, well, when I was probably not in the 20s, but now I always tend to work better in the morning and then try and get everything done that's urgent. You know, you eat the frog and top three and all that sort of buzzwords, and then 2ish maybe go take the dogs out for a walk, and then come back a bit later in the afternoon and do the creative bits, or the jobs that should be a bit more not necessarily enjoyable but easier as well, or possibly enjoyable as well. Yeah.
And where do you see the industry going, the hospitality industry? I mean, we're in an evolving business landscape, aren't we? So how do you see that evolving over the next decade, I guess?
I think at the moment, if you read our press, unfortunately, there's lots of closures, whether it be pubs, restaurants, whatever. I think you've just got to really, for the next 6 to 12 months, especially, batten down the hatches and really make sure what we or what anyone's offering is the very best it can be. The
Mhm.
service, food, drink, everything. Because people, I know when I go to Sainsbury's, there are other supermarkets available, to buy butter or something. I never used to look at the price. You look at the price now, it's like, geez. So
Mm.
people are really careful with the money. So if they're only going to go out once a week, where previously it was 2 or 3 times, I want to make sure that they think, I'm going to go to Urbano, or I'm going to go to the Ring of Bells, or I'm going to pop into Koo for a coffee. We've
Mhm.
got to be the place that they think of, because people are 100%. We do an example of we do a pizza night where it's 2 for 1.
Mhm.
2 or 3 years ago, people would get a pizza each, they'd have a bottle of wine, they'd have a dessert. Now they'll think, right, we'll have a pizza between us, get some chips, and maybe we'll just have water, which is great. They're still coming in,
Mhm.
but they're definitely watching what they spend, and the spend per head's definitely going down.
Yeah, so I think the cost of living crisis and everything that's going on, people have got less disposable income,
Yeah,
and I like this. Be the best that you can be, because if I've got less money to spend, you need to make sure that I want to come and spend it in your establishments because
yeah,
you're
100%. Yeah, yeah.
really
I
cool.
think it's just making sure that we have said before, we've got a great team. The minute that you walk in, want to make sure you get a smile and hi, how are you, and then
Mm.
sit you down, or if you could just come into the bar for a chat. And because we are food led, but we do have quite a few drinkers, especially around tea time.
Mhm.
Just making sure that everybody gets, whether it's the first time or their 100th time,
Mhm.
gets the same welcome and the same service, and then hopefully they'll go away and A, come back, and B, recommend us.
And thinking about the outlets that you've got, what's your future plans? Where's it going next?
I think, as I said, next 6 to 12 months, definitely consolidate.
For sure.
Both places, probably not so much a coffee shop, but the restaurant and the pub definitely need makeovers. So that's where the money will be spent in the next 6 to 12 months. It's great because they've been well used. So, but they're starting to look like, especially certain areas need a good makeover. We spent a lot of money in the pub 2 summers ago. So it's probably just finished about paying that off. So we need to now invest in the interior. So consolidate. I wouldn't look at doing anything else as in a new business in the next 12 months, but also possibly look at other revenue streams as well. We do a couple of outside events, so possibly look at that. It's just using the people and the product we've got to trying to grow the income.
Hmm.
But yeah. So it's going to be a difficult landscape for the next 6 to 12 months in all business, but I think especially in hospitality, because that is the spend where people's, it's a bit of a lifestyle pleasure spend, isn't it? Where you don't have to go out for a meal, but you do have to pay the electric, or you do have to pay the gas, for example.
Without a
And I
doubt.
also just on it, I think we'd like to grow our socials as well. So we'd looked at doing possibly a YouTube or something like behind the scenes of the pub, trying to explain to people of what it's like to run a pub in the 2025 and beyond. So not necessarily as an income stream, but as like an income stream as it leads to more customers,
Correct.
as in growing the profile. Because things like this, when you asked me to do this, I jumped at it because I think, great, it's, hopefully it'll grow our profile as well.
Well, I'm having an absolute blast doing this. And as we said at the start, we've interviewed over 44 business owners now, and it's just great fun. And if you can find something that's great fun that can improve
Yeah.
the pub. Um, I kind of off subject slightly here, Ian, but I collect vinyl and
Oh, okay.
I follow a gentleman on social. I think it's TikTok. I'm not sure. It might be Facebook, called Rockabye Baby Records, and it's a tiny little record store the other side of Northampton.
Okay, I've not seen that.
Such a following on social media.
There's a one in Paris. I don't know if you've seen the Paris one. It's in a market stall in Paris, but again, it's just blowing up, and it's
Oh.
like just customers playing their choices of records. But yeah,
Well, this is a little record shop similar to the ones we've got in Chester. To be honest,
yeah,
no bigger than any one we've got in Chester, but the queues are around the block to get into this shop.
really.
Also, what he's done on social media, and it's
Is that it's off the back of that? Is it?
yeah,
What?
really.
Just a broad range of music, or
No, his son quizzes him on the origins of
I've
music.
seen it. I've seen it. It's really good. Yeah, sorry, I didn't know the name of it. Yeah.
There we go. And what a success story for how to
Yeah,
use.
no, too right. Yeah. I mean, that was the reason for, as you say, you said it's when you get doing this job for so long, it's trying to keep it interesting for yourself, isn't it, as well? Trying to keep it fresh and motivate me to do something so connected, but different, but also grows the business.
Behind the scenes sounds fun, Ian.
Yeah, that's what we'd thought of doing something a bit, but trying to explain to people, because it goes back to your first question about common misconceptions. Hopefully that'll explain some of it. That the fish and chips might cost 20 quid, but there's a reason for that. The fish costs this costs that, and but not necessarily just that, but also the fun bits as well. Like what goes into setting up for a function, or meet the staff, just something a bit different.
My mouth's watering now. You mentioned fish and chips. I wish you had. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've got a couple of more questions for you. And the first one's a big one.
Cool.
And then we've got the pay it forward question.
Okie dokie.
But the first one is really important. And it's, what are the three biggest pieces of advice that you could offer someone starting their own business or maybe facing challenges in their business at the moment? What would you list as your top three?
Well, I've written this down because you gave me the prep. So firstly would be do your research. Whatever industry you're going into, do your research so you can be sure and then fully commit. So full due diligence, research, whatever you want to do, you've got to be sure that you're making the right decision and the right step.
Yeah.
Second one would be make sure, now this is easy for me to say because it never really happens in real life, but try and make sure you're fully funded. Cash flow is so key, especially at the moment in businesses. But if you're setting up a new business, it's ideal to make sure you've always got the setup cost. But then, if the business doesn't hit the road straight away, you want to make sure you've got a bit nestled away. Right. That's easy to say. It never happened for us. And you always end up maxing out your personal credit cards when you start a business. You just do. And you've got to be committed to put your own money in it as well. You've got to really commit in that sense as well. And then finally, not always at the start, but have an eye on creating the great team, because I think I've mentioned a couple of times we've got a brilliant team here, and we've been lucky that I've always had great staff, for the last 30 years. A lot of people stay with us a long time, so hopefully that say we're doing something right, but make sure you've got the right people with you to go on that journey.
I think there are three crackers there. So before you go into anything, make sure you're going to do your research. Make sure that you've got the money behind you, you're fully funded, and have an eye on creating a great team. Three solid principles there for getting going, right?
Cool.
Are you ready for your pay it forward question? So
I've done this one as well, yeah.
Well, no, I've got one for you.
Right, okay, sorry. Right, cool.
Before we get on to asking what yours is, so this is from Tony and Caroline from Insol Architects, and an incredible business, and they look after historic buildings across the whole of the UK. In fact, I think they were involved in the restoration of Windsor Castle when it burnt down.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So their question is, what is the one thing you have in the business that best identifies you, sets you apart from the opposition?
That's a good question.
Isn't it?
I would say people, but I'd imagine everyone will say everything thinks they've got a great team. I really have got a good team. And I know I've said that about 5 times now, but we couldn't do what we do without our people.
I think that's a cracking answer, actually, because that doesn't happen by accident, Ian. We've got to be very deliberate about how we build our team and look after them as well. But if you have got, the gentleman that runs Action Coach, Brad Sugars, tells a story, and he remembers asking his dad when he was a kid, why can't I get the right team? And he said, and his dad said, you get the team you deserve. And he went, ouch, ouch. And he says, if you run an average business, you're going to have an average team. And I went, there's a big lesson there. So I think that's a cracking answer.
Oh, good, thanks. Yeah, well, it's true. It's true. I mean, they're great from all 3 places. We've got a great team that we've built over the years. Yeah, and it's we've had people that have gone from us and gone on to open their own businesses, and hopefully they've learned a bit from us, and they're thriving in their own businesses as well. So yeah,
love that. So, what question would you like me to ask the next guest on the podcast?
And the one I'd thought of was, if you weren't in your particular industry, what would your chosen field be?
I love that as well. In your industry, what field would you choose? Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you very much, Ian. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. And let's stay in touch. Let's have a coffee. Or maybe...
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me. Good fun.
Or or maybe some fish and chips, actually thinking.
You have to come over.
Oh, well, thank you. Bye-bye now.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Perfect.
Cool. That was great. I really enjoyed that. Thank you.